How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam. I also go by Ruby T, and today I'm bringing you week 4 of the VDL, and I'm once again doing post-comms because I kind of found it easier. I was in the middle of stuff this weekend, so I didn't commentate at the time, and I kind of enjoyed it last week, actually, having a look back through the match and commentating. So yeah, this week we're up against Kolopsia or Frederick, I think his name is, and yeah, long story short, he's a super good player. He's won this before. He's the second previous champion we've played in this start of this nightmare start to the season, and he's a really good player. He's also representing Norway in the Victory Road World Cup at the moment, I think. So yeah, that'll give you an idea of the caliber of player he is. This week we brought a team of Weezing, Tapu Fini, Togedemaru, Terrakion, Braviary, and the Rotom Mo. Basically, the Braviary's got a Choice Scarf. I wanted to be able to kind of set up Choice Scarf Tailwinds. The original plan was to kind of run like a really obscure and weird Weezing set with like Specs Weezing with neutralizing gas, so that I could just try and deal out really heavy damage to start with, and then yeah, it just didn't quite work out when I thought about it. I didn't have a lot of time to plan and test this week, minus like literally the last minutes before the match. So, and as you'll find out later, I actually brought the wrong Braviary. The Braviary I built, I left in my PC, and I brought the wrong one. So there we go. Anyway, game 1. My opponent led with Tauros and Urshifu, and I led Weezing and Braviary. So this was not a lead I was particularly expecting, if I'm honest with you. I have later found out that the Urshifu was banded. Obviously, that's an item you kind of expect on Urshifu. The Weezing has got pretty much max special attack, so I decided I would just go ahead and launch this Tailwind and Sludge Bomb, expecting that one of my Pokemon could possibly go down, giving me a free switch into something that could deal some more damage. Tauros and Urshifu both physical attackers, and so I was kind of thinking maybe a double into Weezing might take it out if he's looking to remove that neutralizing gas, or equally and possibly more ideally a double into Braviary to take out the Braviary, which was extremely bulky, or at least it was supposed to be extremely bulky, but as I say, it was not. So Weezing goes to the Sludge Bomb, which does a nice chunk into the Tauros, so I know a second Sludge Bomb into that slot will take it out. Tauros goes for Icy Wind, which is definitely something I wasn't expecting, and a really, really cool tech on the Tauros, if you ask me. I think it's a really, really cool thing to have. Icy Wind, of course, lowering the speed of both of my Pokemon, and then Urshifu goes for a Wicked Blow. Now, I'm presuming this, with the Choice Band, possibly KO's Braviary anyway. However, obviously with the Icy Wind chip, there's no way it's going to survive. And the fact that I did actually bring the wrong Braviary, I definitely didn't have a chance to survive, which is a real shame. However, I guess the only kind of saving grace is that it did give me a free switch. Now, they put me in a bad spot though, because now Weezing could be outsped. The Weezing had enough speed that under Tailwind it would outspeed his entire team, but obviously with the one-stage speed lowering, Weezing is such a slow Pokemon that does actually drop it below the speed of like Tauros already. So yeah, it wasn't ideal. So my opponent sends out the Raikou, Raikou, I never know how to say. I'm going to say Raikou for the rest of this, which is a switch I was kind of expecting. I was hoping the Moonblast may give us a special attack drop, but without any luck. We avoid the high horsepower here with Weezing, which was very fortunate. Ultimately, it wouldn't actually deal too much damage. Weezing is very physically bulky. I imagine probably maybe 40-50%, maybe more depending on how the Tauros was trained. I'm not really sure, but yeah. So my opponent sends out his Tapu Lele. And now I'm in a really, really unfavourable position, right? Like, there's just not a lot I can do. I decided to switch into Togedemaru with Lightning Rod to kind of hopefully bait an electric attack. Obviously, knowing that this is going to, with the Tailwind, mean that Psychic Terrain is up, so any Psychic moves are going to do a lot of damage. And yeah, it's just not a great spot for me to be in one bit. Really, really, really bad spot, in fact. So I do decide to switch into Togedemaru. Meaning Tapu Fini is safe-ish, and shouldn't be able to be hit with an electric move. So I just decided what I need to really do is remove this Raikou, and so I target into it with a second Moonblast. So Weezing switches out, the neutralizing gas wears off, meaning that Tapu Fini's Misty Surge is triggered, and that is obviously then followed by Tapu Lele's Psychic Surge. Psychic Terrain, meaning priority moves are no longer available to either of the players, and also that Psychic moves do more damage, and Expanding Force becomes a spread move. So Togedemaru comes out. Tapu Fini goes for the Moonblast. It lands into the Raikou, bringing it within KO range of another. Psychic comes into the Togedemaru slot here and does a big amount of damage, really unfortunate amount of damage. And then the Raikou goes for a Snarl, which actually is extremely important and will mean that now my Tapu Fini is unable to pick up a KO onto the Raikou from this range. However, we are still on a Tailwind, and so both of my Pokemon are going to be moving before his, which does give me a little bit of a chance. However, in reality, I think at this point, Game 1 is pretty much lost. I aim an Iron Head into the Tapu Lele, not knowing how it's trained. I don't know how much this will deal. Like a non-invested Tapu Lele, I think will be KO'd by the Iron Head, but I would imagine it would be unlikely my opponent allows me to just get off an Iron Head that's going to KO the Tapu Lele. So yeah, the Iron Head comes out, and as I suspected, the Tapu Lele is trained to survive the Iron Head by just a little bit. Moonblast comes out into the Raikou. It does not pick up the KO, which we were aware of. The Raikou goes for a Snarl, which thanks to the critical hit the turn before, does pick up the KO on the Togedemaru. If we hadn't got crit turn 1, we would have survived turn 2, which again may have given us a little bit more of a chance, because we would have had a second Iron Head to dish out. But yeah, as it is, that meant we lost. We were definitely going to lose the match. Obviously, what this could have meant is that the next turn we would have been potentially able to put some more pressure on the Tapu Lele and possibly pick up a KO on the Raikous. But you know, at the end of the day, not possible. I decided to go for a Sludge Wave with the Weezing. On the off chance that he decides not to target it because he thinks I'm going to protect, I thought if I aim a Sludge Wave out now, we may just have the opportunity to get this off. I actually am Papaya Berry, meaning that I hoped I would survive the Psychic. However, I'd taken a tiny bit of chip damage, which meant that I could not survive. So yeah, which is unfortunate. But like I say, at the end of the day, I think I was outplayed in this game 1. There are a couple of bits of luck either way, a couple of crits on either side, but ultimately, a miss on my end and a crit on his end. And yeah, you know, these things sometimes matter, sometimes they don't. I'm not certain it really mattered in this scenario here. I just took a little bit of time at the end of the game to maybe try and just work out what exactly went wrong, and I think ultimately I was outled and I was outplayed. But yeah, there we go. You can't win them all, and like I say, my opponent is a very good player. And yeah, you know, I just wanted to use up as much time as possible at the end of this game 3 to just really have a good think about whether or not there was anything that I could do differently. Have a think about his sets. I was pretty sure at this stage the Tapu Lele must have been Specs, judging by the amount of damage that did, and like through the Papaya Berry as well. And the fact that he'd only clicked Psychic, it did look to be a Spec set, which I did have a little think, work out how much that would do to the Weezing. And yeah, we go down game 1, 3-1. Game 2, I decided to switch things up a little bit. I decided that the Tapu Fini lead may be just a little bit more productive for me. I may give me a little bit more freedom to deal some damage, and then if I bring the Weezing and Togedemaru in the back, it may just leave me in some better shape. Ultimately, I think looking at the smaller calcs, the fact that the Lele is Specs, did just probably tilt the balance in my opponent's favour from here on in. I was unsure about whether or not Weezing was going to survive. Weezing would definitely survive a Psychic outside of Psychic terrain, but in Psychic terrain with the Specs, even with the Papaya Berry, I wasn't really sure. So yeah, my opponent leads the same way again with Tauros and Urshifu, and I go with Braviary and Tapu Fini this time, which obviously will put immediate pressure onto the Urshifu. It's here where I realise I've brought the wrong Braviary. The Intimidate comes out, and my Defiant does not activate. I had planned for Tauros that if Defiant was able to activate with this Braviary, that actually I would be in such good shape with it, even with its Scarf, that I could just start sweeping through his team. It does so much damage after one Defiant boost. However, I now realised that, yeah, there was no Defiant, which is bad in itself anyway, but also means that I've definitely got the wrong Braviary, which means it's not the bulky one, with the exact set that, like, it was literally the only set that I really calced, right? and it meant I definitely had the wrong Braviary. So now, instead of being a +1, I'm a -1, and instead of having the bulky Tailwind Braviary, which was able to do like take various hits, I just didn't have it. But I decided I have to carry on, so I go for the Tailwind and the Moonblast, fully expecting Urshifu to switch out here. Yeah, I figure there's no way Urshifu's going to stay in. However, my opponent, perhaps expecting me to over-predict, stays in. At this stage, I thought maybe the Urshifu is Sash, and we were going to get hit back really hard here. However, Urshifu goes down, and we're able to pick up a KO. And I'm expecting another Icy Wind from the Tauros, which is exactly what happens. And again, right, so now, in this scenario, had I had the Defiant Braviary, I would have been able to take out the Urshifu with Braviary with turn 1. I could have landed an attack into the Tauros, and then the Icy Wind drop would have actually given me another Defiant boost, and I would have still had an extremely bulky Braviary, which could have dealt like serious damage to all of his team. However, that is not the case. What I have is a -1 speed, -1 attack Braviary, and well, I've used Tailwind anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So, Tapu Lele comes out, and Psychic Surge comes onto the field. I realise at this stage, however, that I do have Sheer Force on the Braviary, so there is a good chance it could do some damage, and it's also a more offensive Braviary that I brought last week, just without the Life Orb. So, my thinking was, if I can get Braviary back in at a decent time with the Choice Scarf out, with its Choice Scarf, and if I can bring it back in at the right time, I could probably do some decent cleaning up with it. I decide that I decided I need to switch it out, and I switch it out into Togedemaru, knowing that Togedemaru is probably going to get hit really, really hard. But so be it, we can't do anything about that. And in the end, I decide the best thing for me to do actually would be to go into the Weezing rather than the Togedemaru, because if I get hit with a Psychic move, I can just sack the Weezing, which is not great. But also, my thinking kind of maybe Tauros might go for a Head Smash, or Tauros might go for something into that Braviary slot, so that the Lele could attack the Finny, right? And fortunately for me, that is exactly what happens. The Tauros goes for a massive Giga Impact into Weezing, which does just not enough, and Lele goes for a Psychic. Unfortunately, the Psychic also comes into the Weezing slot. So we do sack the Weezing, however, it does mean that we are able to double target the Lele slot the turn after, because Tauros is now recharging, and we are pretty confident that the Lele is Specs, meaning it definitely it shouldn't be able to protect. However, I at this stage I'm not guaranteed that it's Specs. I'm not really sure, but it does give me the ability to, as I say, aim a double attack into that slot this turn, and hope for either a switch or or that we're able to deal some big damage. I click Fake Out. Not entirely sure why I click Fake Out, to be perfectly honest with you. Really not my smartest move. What I definitely should have done here is just double target that slot. Why I didn't, I don't know. But I guess it means that I was able to prevent the Lele getting off any attacks. However, yeah, I do go for the Fake Out, and then I go for a Shadow Ball, revealing the Shadow Ball, which maybe was the more risky option, especially if I was going to be using Fake Out, because it just doesn't deal any damage to the Raikou. At this point, I'm suspecting the Raikou might be Assault Vested, considering the damage or lack of damage that I've been dealing to it. However, I do know that a close combat from the Braviary at this point should deal really good damage to both the Raikou and the Tauros. So if I can just chip away at them, hopefully I can like manufacture myself a kind of a useful position. But there we are. So I aim a Zing Zap here into Tauros, and then go back and have another think about it. It's so hard doing post comps, you know. Like I have to double question what I'm doing and go back through and look. So in the end, I go for a Spiky Shield, and I switch the Tapu Fini out into the Braviary. This obviously resets my ability to use Tailwind, or resets the Intimidate, certainly, that was on the Braviary before, and the speed drop that is on the Finny. Now, high horsepower comes into Togedemaru, Spiky Shield does a little bit of chip damage into the Tauros. Raikou goes for a Snarl, which obviously is blocked by the Togedemaru and does a tiny bit to the Braviary, but again, just think, imagine if you had a Defiant Braviary now, everyone. Joy Scarf +2, it would have been so easy, right? You know, it would have been, oh boy. But you know what, we live and sometimes learn, so yeah. Not annoyed about it or anything. It's one of those things you should learn, especially when you're playing Draft League, right? It's so important to make sure you're bringing the right team because you are going to have boxes full of the same Pokemon. But yeah, what can we do? Well, nothing. Nothing is exactly what we can do. Absolutely nothing. What a shame. Okay, so still maintaining this kind of plan of we can still do this. We can manage to do this. You know, even if we do have to kind of make some reads. So I figured the Raikou would probably be coming out here because he was going to want to save it for the Tapu Fini. So with that in my mind, and knowing that I need to take a KO fairly soon, I decided to aim a U-turn into that slot, hoping that exactly this would happen, right? So what I really wanted was to get some more chip onto the Tapu Lele, so again I can bring the Braviary out later at a point when everybody is kind of whittled down a bit more. Also hoping that we can kind of maybe bait an attack into this Braviary that will go into the Togedemaru instead. And yeah, what we are in fact able to do is get into a position where we've got Togedemaru back out on the field next to Tapu Fini, and with Tapu Lele out once again. So Tauros goes for another Icy Wind, which is really frustrating, and was a really good play from my opponent. Like, really smart play. He could have gone for a big attack here, and if he had done, I think we would have been in a great spot. However, like I say, very smart. Decided instead to go for the Icy Wind, meaning that I can't outspeed his Tauros again, and I need to play a bit smarter once again. So, hoping that this time maybe he double baits me, doesn't switch out the Tapu Lele, I'll go for another Shadow Ball. In hindsight, if I'd have just been clicking these, as Moonblasts or Scalds, we would have done some pretty decent damage to the Raikou by now, but unfortunately not. So another Shadow Ball goes into the Raikou, it deals very little damage. However, it does get the special defense drop, which is something very beneficial. So I aim a Moonblast into the Raikou this time, and I go for a Spiky Shield, hoping that we can bait a high horsepower into the Togedemaru again and get a bit more chip on the Tauros, and hoping also that we can land a Moonblast into the Raikou. I figure it's probably going to Snarl, which is obviously less than beneficial because it will lower my special attack and negate that special defense drop. However, on the off chance that it decides to go for a different move, like perhaps trying to attack the Togedemaru, I figure we're kind of, we've got nothing to lose, right? There's no reason not to, at least not that I can see. He actually withdraws the Raikou again, which I wasn't sure was always the correct play. However, with the special defense drop, I guess it does make kind of sense. And he goes back into the Tapu Lele. So the psychic terrain is reset, which means that people can now be statused again, not that that matters, and there can be no more priority, not that that particularly matters right now either. High horsepower does come into the Togedemaru, which we block with a Spiky Shield and do a bit more chip onto the Tauros. Moonblast comes out from Tapu Fini and lands into the Tapu Lele, which does big damage, and that is thanks to a critical hit, which I think definitely matters. That is definitely an important critical hit. Because it just means now that Lele can't get hit by anything, right? It's effectively dead to any attack from any of my Pokemon, and that means that its switching capabilities and its position as kind of bait for switching capabilities is just lessened a little bit for my opponent. So yeah, not ideal for him, but obviously a big benefit to me. So this turn I decide the best move is to protect the Tapu Fini, which I figure will be targeted by the Tapu Lele, and switch the Togedemaru out in case we are the victim of another high horsepower, and hope that plays out well for us. So Fini does go for the protect, and my opponent decides to go for a high horsepower, which obviously doesn't affect the Braviary, and to also go for a Psychic, which it's a nice move. Again, in hindsight, it was it was probably a better idea to actually attack with the Finny to just guarantee some damage that turn. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm fairly happy with the position I'm in. And I'm fairly happy with what I can do this turn, which is actually select to close combat the Tauros and to Shadow Ball the Tapu Lele. So Braviary is always going to be the fastest thing on the field. Close combat into Tauros should pick it up from here. At least I think it should, especially considering that I'm actually the wrong Braviary. And I'm not the bulky version, I am the more offensive version. So, but I am crossing my fingers because I don't know how the Tauros is trained, and I actually don't really know how my own Braviary is trained. I do go for the close combat. However, the Tauros is carrying the berry, which weakens the fighting moves, so I do not pick up the KO, which is a big shame. And I, in fact, just weaken my defenses. So, the Tauros goes for a Giga Impact. This nails my Tapu Fini, but does not do enough to put it into any real kind of danger of KO ranges. Braviary goes down to a Psychic, but thankfully I was able to take out the Tapu Fini, the Tapu Lele this time with Moonblast, meaning that we were in a 2-on-2 situation with a Raikou and this Tauros. Now, Togedemaru obviously has Lightning Rod, and that means all the time Togedemaru is alive, I can't be hit by an electric move. So, what we are now into is effectively a battle of mind games. The Tauros can't move this turn. The Raikou obviously can move this turn, and both of my Pokemon can move. So, this was, I think, in my opinion, this was a difficult turn to play out, because I wanted to remove the Tauros to make sure this was a 2v1, and I kind of had in my head that he's going to be targeting the Finny here, right? Like, or he's going to be snarling, he's going to be doing something. Tauros has to recharge, and Raikou actually goes for an Aura Sphere. Now, I did not even comprehend that Raikou would have had Aura Sphere. I don't know why I didn't, but it just didn't come to mind, and this changes things drastically. An attack out of the Finny this turn, and yeah, that would have been game right there. However, I did not attack out of the Finny this turn, and now I'm in trouble. Now things are very, very bad. Unfortunately, yeah, really things can't get a lot worse at this point. So I protect the Togedemaru. Raikou goes for a Snarl, which does a little bit. Now, obviously, as you can see, my Togedemaru is a little bulkier this week for exactly this reason. I wanted it to be able to hang around against the Raikou, which I thought would be running Scald. I don't know why I didn't think of Aura Sphere. But I just figured it'd be running Scald, and I wanted to make sure we could take a few of those. Moonblast does an interesting amount of damage, because it is currently a 3-hit KO, and now I'm just basically, if my opponent clicks Aura Sphere here, I'm pretty sure he wins, because I don't think we can KO with the Moonblast, but we actually do get the double Spiky Shield, which is really good. So he does click Aura Sphere, it does go into the Togedemaru, it's my only option to try and win the game. We get a Moonblast off, and now Raikou is within KO range, and its special attack has fallen, which means that a Snarl will have no chance of picking up the KO. And so I'm able to double target the Raikou this turn. Somehow, after this absolutely ridiculous game, we were able to come away with a 1-0 win, thanks to Tapu Fini, but goodness me, what a crazy set that was, honestly. Like, it was, yeah, it was kind of back and forth the whole way around. Again, if I'd have had the right Braviary, we'd have been in really good shape, but unfortunately I didn't. So yeah, there we go. So GG's. That was 1-1, and it was on to game number 3. Okay, so here we are, game 3. Apologies for the noise. That is my dog's tail wagging against the side of the counter. So here's the deal. The Braviary that I had calced is able to survive a +1 Meteor Beam from the Starmie pretty much. I think it's like 90 or 100% of the time. And I think 100% of the time. And after a fake out, it was like still like a good like 60-70% chance. However, as I mentioned, brought the wrong bird. So I figured in this scenario, there's a decent chance that the Starmie just targets down the Weezing to get a guaranteed KO. That way, enabling Grassy Surge to go up, which would be really beneficial. However, that is not what happened. The fake out came into the Braviary, followed by this Meteor Beam, which yeah, like I say, unfortunately, had I brought the right Braviary, we'd have had a chance. We would have had a chance to be in this game. As it is, the chances were slim. And I don't want to spoil anything too much for you, but this is game over. Without the tailwind, we just don't have a chance. In hindsight, there's loads of things I could have done here differently. Like, to be honest, pretty much anything. Like, if I could have attacked with the Weezing into the Starmie, I could have just done hard switched into Togedemaru, expecting the target into the Braviary and protected the Weezing, that allowing me to have my own fake out the next turn. There's loads of stuff I could have done differently. I didn't do that. I was foolish, really, because that entirely cost me the game. There's no way back from here. It's just not possible to pick this one back up, unfortunately, especially with the Starmie at +1 and knowing that as soon as Weezing leaves the field or dies, Thwacky gets its terrain back, so it can grassy glide into the Togedemaru, remove my sash. So yeah, really disappointing considering how good the first two games were, particularly game 2. And yeah, I'll stop going on about it now. But very annoying to have brought the wrong bird. To be honest, very upsetting. But what can we do? We live and learn. Or we certainly try to live and learn. The Starmie goes for an Expanding Force, which does massive damage to Rotom, but not quite enough to pick it up. And Zingzap comes out into the Starmie, which is enough to pick it up, showing me that, yeah, even like I said, a turn 1 switch there would have been pretty useful. Drain Punch comes down to Togedemaru, doesn't take it out, but yeah, we're now at we got 3 Pokemon. 2 of them have got almost no health, and one of them is a now slow Weezing. So what I'm going to do is I'll show the rest of this battle because well, between you and me it doesn't take very long, but also because it's important to kind of respect that my opponent played really well and he built really well. His team had a lot of really kind of nice synergy. The Raikou, which I'm pretty sure was Assault Vested, was a really nice pick, and yeah, it was just a shame to lose in the manner that we did. I obviously can't protect in front of the Urshifu. So I decided to just go for a Leaf Storm, and I just try and play this one out with offense and hope that maybe there's a chance my opponent gets something wrong. Maybe he makes a mistake, maybe he decides to try and do something too clever. Instead he goes for a U-turn, which KOs the Rotom Mo. And he's able to bring in what was always going to be the Raikou. So I decided not to bring Finny to this match because I figured he's probably going to bring the same or similar Pokemon again. He was definitely going to bring the Raikou, and my Rotom Mo just totally walled it, really walled it. So team selection good, the way I played the match poor, and it's now a 3v1 with only Weezing left to go, and things were looking bad. But was there a miraculous turnaround? No, there was not. I had a good long look in the mirror after this one, and that was kind of it. But what that means is our record now goes to 1-3. We have lost to week 1 to the Suicunes, which was a really close battle, and we've been beaten by both of the previous champions in the Slowbros and the Darmanitans this week, and then and we've managed to beat the Rabombies. In the upcoming weeks we've got the Kildare Crocodiles, we've got the Bristol Bewares, who are both in my division, who are both just below me in the division on win ratios, I think. But obviously they're matches that we need to be looking to win, and hopefully we can pick those up. And then I think we close out the season by playing the Northampton Cellar Steelers, and there's another match as well, but I can't remember exactly what it is. Sludge Wave shockingly does not pick up 2 KOs here, which I think would have been the only fair way for this game to be. And yeah, my opponent's able to comfortably close this one out on a deserved 3rd game victory. GG's to Frederick Kalopsia, thank you so much for the games, and really well played. And hopefully, with any luck, if I can sort my shit out and start winning some matches, maybe we'll meet somewhere in the playoffs. But there's a lot of hard work for me to do before that happens. So I haven't really got a whole lot else to say. So as soon as this KO happens, I will I'll finish off the recording. So thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.